So no one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke, you're broke, your love life's the away. It's like you're always stuck in second gear, when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, even your year. But I'll be there for you, 'cause you're there for me too. Now, to make these pins, you're going to need some templates. I drew these myself and I will leave a link in the description if you want to use them too. And I also used shrinking plastic. Really, this plastic is so amazing. I also used it before to make earrings on this channel. I will link that up above if you want to watch that after this video, of course. So I just started by sticking the template and shrinking plastic on top of it to the paper, just to prevent them from moving around, which is pretty important because we're going to trace them. So for the tracing, I used permanent markers. I'm not sure where they're from, but this is the brand. If you want to check them out, they work really nice. And what I just started with was filling in the letters. Of course, this is like the typical Friends logo, the really famous one, because of course, how can I make Friends pins without using the Friends logo, you know? I mean, I really enjoyed the show so much. I just finished it a few weeks ago, and honestly, although the ending was so amazing, it was still really sad because it had been like a big part of my life for all those months. But I really enjoyed this show so much, and I'm definitely going to rewatch it again and again. So when I had finished the first layer, I took out the template and I replaced it with some white paper. This way you get a way better view of which parts are already really black and which you have to do again. But I just ended up doing another layer of black and the little dots on top of it all, just to make it really dark and clear. And then I turned the plastic around and I repeated all of that again, just adding another layer. And by doing it on the back too, you're just really sure that any little cracks you might have left are filled in anyways, and it will just make it even darker, because that is what you want. If it's going to shrink, you will want really opaque colors. Then this happened. It was really sad. I would finish it and then I wanted to get the tape off and it just broke. So I ended up doing all those steps again off camera, and that's why there are two Friends logos here. But then I went on to the Central Park logo, and for this I was really careful to make really thin strokes because it's quite detailed, this template, so you have to be really careful to make sure all the details are still visible. And that's just what I'm doing here. I'm already filling in the black parts, and then I'm turning it around again and I'm coloring it in with my colored markers. So for this I just started coloring them in, but what I noticed immediately is that these markers were a lot more strokey than the black ones. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but I did notice it, so I ended up doing a lot of layers. Only later on I realized I might have gone a bit overboard with the layers on this colored stuff, because I noticed when you shrink the plastic, the colors actually become a lot more intense, and that's why the colors ended up a little bit darker than I wanted them to be, so I would recommend not doing too much layers. So then I went on to the little, I'm not sure what it is, like this hole in Chandler and Monica's apartment, the door. And I'm just doing a lot of layers of that as well. And this one I decided not to color in quite yet, because later on I am going to paint this design. And then my shrink plastic was full, so I brought in a new sheet, and here I'm going to do Joey and Chandler's duck and chick because I just think this was a really cute design I found somewhere on the internet, and I simplified it a little bit. So yeah, this one also I'm not adding color just yet. I'm going to paint that later on because I didn't really have the exact right colors, and painting it makes the colors a little more, you're more sure which color they're actually going to be. So then I had finished the designs and I cut them out. And now it was time to go to the oven. So whoop, and we're in my kitchen. I had prepared everything, like the plate, the designs, a fat book to lay them under when they're done. And I just put them in the oven. My shrinking plastic said to do it at 157 degrees Celsius, so that's what I did. And the designs started shrinking immediately. And it's so satisfying to watch. This is not sped up or anything, it is a really fast process. You really need to watch out. I didn't film the shrinking of the Friends one, of the logo, because it kind of stuck together, so I had to reach in and unfold it and save it, so that was a bit too hectic for me to film. But then I put them under the book, and after a few minutes I took the book off to reveal the small shrunken designs. Yay! And you can see they really shrink so much. This was actually where the broken design came in useful, because you can compare how much it actually shrunk compared to the original. So yeah, you can see this colors turned out a little bit darker than I had expected, but I think the other ones turned out really nice. So, time for the painting. I just prepared all my paints, and here is a video of me mixing the purple paint because I thought that looked really satisfying. So I'll add some music and you can enjoy. Alright, and then it was time to paint. So I only painted on the back of the designs, because this way you can just go over the lines and you won't see it on the front. And it just makes it a lot easier, because if you really have to fill in the shapes, it's so hard because it's so tiny. And doing it on the back just makes it a lot easier. Also for this one, I'm also just doing the middle and the outside with some purple paint. And you really have to add a thick layer of paint, otherwise you will still be able to see the light shine through it when you hold it against the sun. So really make sure to have a thick layer of paint. For these ones that I already used color on, the only thing left to do was just add a bunch of white paint to the back, so you would see the colors well and they wouldn't be transparent anymore. I also added some more purple layers to the other designs, and now I'm going in with the yellow for the chick, which I think is a really cool color, and I used that on the other pin as well to make them kind of match with the same color scheme. Then for the last details, I'm just adding some orange for the duck's beak. And after that was dried, I was basically done. Now the next step is of course to use the pin backings. Now there are two options for this. You can of course just use safety pins, that's the easiest. But the second method, I think it's kind of genius of myself. I'm using a pin backing and an earring stud. And by using those together, you are just able to make a really nice pin by just gluing that onto the pin. So they are now dried. Magic of editing. And then I was basically done. I think these pins turned out very nice. I really enjoyed making them. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched all the way to the end. Please like this video and consider subscribing. Bye!